YouTube? This is your friendly neighborhood movie nerd, back to give you guys everything that is going on in the world of movies and TV. Now, guys, the year of 2017 has officially wrapped, and I have to say, with all of the new and great TV seasons that we got this year, there was one TV season that we had gotten teased and teased about and teased about, and then I had to keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and I thought for sure that I was going to have to wait until 2018 to get this season. But then, oh man, Netflix pulled the rug out from under us and was like, just kidding, we are giving you the new season, because the new season of Black Mirror dropped approximately 2 days before the end of the year on December 29th. We got another brand new 6 stories from the sick and twisted mind of Charlie Brooker, exploring how a human's obsession with technology will eventually lead to our downfall in new and creative ways. So, because if you guys are following with what happened with Black Mirror, after the rights went up for distribution in 2014, Netflix brought the rights and commissioned 12 new episodes that would be split into sets of 6. We get the first 6 last October with the 6 episodes that were released then. And as you guys know, out of that set, San Junipero was the one that was nominated for and won Best TV Movie at the Emmys this past year. Well, we have another 6 episodes. I don't know if one of these 6 will be nominated the way that San Junipero was, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank these episodes because Black Mirror is one of my favorite new TV series of this decade so far, and I'm going to be exploring how each episode kind of like what it explores in terms of our society and what technological aspect it is covering. So without further ado, this is my ranking of every episode of Black Mirror Season 4. Number 6. Crocodile. Now, this episode is probably the one that gets away the farthest from the initial premise of Black Mirror, where it kind of covers like technology and how it interferes more. So this one just explores how technology can unintentionally lead to uncovering somebody's crime, because this one, it takes almost like a lot of Hitchcockian influences, where it follows the story of this woman who accidentally is involved in a hit and run earlier on in her life, and then later on that event ends up coming to haunt her 15 years later. But the reason why I rank this at the bottom of the list is because the way that the events play out throughout the episode, it just ends up feeling very contrived, and it makes her out, the woman who is played by Andrea Riseborough, out to be almost like a completely polar opposite character than what she started in, and it really makes her out to be like this tonal shift that just makes no sense for her character at all, which really sucks because the other characters who she ends up inflicting harm on end up becoming way more sympathetic, even though you don't really know that much about him. The cinematography is absolutely gorgeous, but again, this is definitely one of the weaker episodes that I've ever seen because it doesn't really have anything to say about society. It's one of those episodes that kind of just rather focuses on how shitty human beings are, but it just ends up getting so convoluted, and the ending I find is downright laughably bad. So that's why it makes this spot here at the bottom of the list. Number 5. Metalhead. Now, this is the shortest episode in the season so far, and the way it plays out, it almost plays out almost like a Terminator episode, because it is very one note. It does not have a lot of depth and growth for its character. It is just a simple chase movie. Avoid the killer robot that is coming for it. I love the way that this is shot. It is shot completely in black and white. I think the director of this episode was Tim Van Patten, who has directed some of my favorite episodes of some very popular HBO TV shows like Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, and Boardwalk Empire. And I really like how, again, this is one that doesn't really focus on the direct influence of technology on people's lives, just how it can be used to like really, you know, how it can basically, it can kill people. But where this episode is kind of weak for me is that you don't really get to know the world that it's in or any of the characters, and by the time the ending comes, where you find out what their initial mission was that ended up getting them hunted by these killer robots, you're just like, okay, come on, really? This is dumb. So that's why this is, again, another one of the weaker episodes of the season, and it's only this low at number 5. Number 4. Archangel. Now, this is one that I enjoyed a lot more than a lot of other people. Also, fun fact, this episode was actually directed by Jodie Foster, of all people, and just in terms of really exploring, like, like, taking the idea of helicopter parenting and taking that to a whole new level. I love that, especially because I can relate to that a lot, and not necessarily to the extent that this episode was going for, because Black Mirror always blows up everything to the extreme, but I really appreciated just how unintentionally like intrusive, and you could tell from minute one that it was going to be this way when the mother, played by Rosemary DeWitt, has the device implanted in her daughter's brain, and just the possibilities of how I kind of already guessed where that was going, but then this episode goes in a whole different kind of fucked up that I could never have possibly guessed. So I ended up really appreciating that. I wanted to put this a little bit higher, but then I saw some of the later episodes and I'm like, nah, I couldn't put this above those. So that's why Archangel is only here at number 4. Number 3. Black Museum. Now, this is an episode that kind of follows a similar story structure to not an episode of a previous season, but the special that came out in late 2014, the Christmas special, White Christmas, in that it's this one guy telling this girl who has stopped in the middle of the desert to this really strange museum that has a whole bunch of other Easter eggs and references to other previous episodes in there about these 3 different stories of how this mind-melding technology completely ruined 3 different people's lives. And I think that this episode utilized that storytelling structure way better than White Christmas did. And while there are a few plot contrivances, I like how the 3 stories interact and overlap at the end. And the Easter eggs, well, I don't like the idea of Charlie Brooker taking and referencing all of his episodes and how they all exist in this one verse, because that kind of ruins the whole point of Black Mirror, is that it's not supposed to be related. It's just supposed to show how these different types of technology can just go completely bananas in terms of human society. But that being said, I still really appreciate how this episode tied together. I thought the performances in here were really great, particularly from Letitia Wright, now that I, have something to base her off of when I see her in Black Panther. And I like the different ways in which it explores the theme of cyber beings and artificial technology. That's kind of been an underlying theme throughout this entire season. So that's why Black Museum is my number 3 favorite episode of this season. Number 2. USS Calais. This is one where the marketing is going to throw off a lot of people, because the way that this episode is marketed, it really is marketed as a straight up Star Trek ripoff, and it really does come across that way for about the first 10 minutes. Then once you actually get into the episode and find out what it's actually about and how it is utilizing a technology technique that actually was also previously utilized in White Christmas, but the way that it utilizes it here takes the level of fucked up that Black Mirror has become known for and takes that to a whole new level. I love the fact that this episode, out of all the episodes, plays out the most like a feature-length cinematic film, and while I'm not necessarily a fan of some of the directions that this episode went, I am more than appreciative of the questions that this episode asked, questions that I never in a million years would have thought of, and actually made me sympathize for computer-generated characters that really technically aren't alive. Performances in this episode, particularly from Jesse Plemons, who seems to be doing a Matt Damon impersonation the entire time, but a really good Matt Damon impersonation and a really great performance. And also from my girl, Kristen Melody, who absolutely, I fell in love with her in that last season of How I Met Your Mother. I'm still mad at what that show did with her character as the mother, and I loved her in Fargo season 2. She gives another spectacular performance here. This is a really great episode and one of the best that Black Mirror has ever done. So that's why it makes its spot here at my number 2. And my number 1 selection is Hang the DJ. Now, this is an episode that didn't float as high for a lot of other people, and I'm actually kind of shocked, because for me at least, the reason why I enjoy this episode so much is because for me at least, this is San Junipero done right. Now, while I have nothing against San Junipero, I do find that episode is especially overhyped, and it really makes me angry that that's the episode that everybody loved in the same season that Nosedive came out, which is still to this day my favorite episode of Black Mirror. That being said, I think taking the idea of online dating and using it in a way that doesn't end up being a really fucked up story, I really enjoy that Charlie Brooker kind of goes the more heartfelt, really, pulling on your heartstrings route that San Junipero took. I think the chemistry between the 2 leads, Joe Cole and Georgina Campbell, is great, but I specifically love the way that it is such a great look at our society in terms of the way that we view dating and how that works now. And the way that kind of plays into the whole overarching message throughout the story, and how it ends up at the twist at the end, with how that factors into the whole, how they end up together at the end. Really appreciated that. Really, this was tugging on your heartstrings done right, in my opinion, versus San Junipero, which kind of just felt overrated. Also, another big thing that ruined San Junipero for me was the fact that somebody spoiled the ending for me, and that really killed the impact of that episode for me. But at the same time, really like this episode. This is definitely one of the best episodes of Black Mirror, and definitely the best of this season. So that's why Hang the DJ is my number 1 favorite episode of this season season of Black Mirror. So that is every episode ranked of season 4 of Black Mirror. Really sucks because overall this season for me at least was very weak, and like I said, it has nothing to do with each individual episode because each individual episode does a pretty good job with what it's going for in terms of taking new and different approaches to technology and how they're used it. I like kind of how this one had an underlying theme to it, but what I don't like is the fact of this season feels, even more so than last one, really like Charlie Brooker, the creator, has become kind of self-aware of how popular the show has become and is really incorporating that into his writing, and I don't like that because it kind of takes away from the subtlety of how great, which is what made those first 2 seasons back when it was on Channel 4 of the show so great. So with all that being said, this was still a very good TV show. I would highly recommend it. Please go back and watch all the other previous episodes that have come out. They are all on Netflix. It really is a modern day Twilight Zone. You will never once be disinterested, and you will be just completely amazed, not just by the fact of how readily available all of this technology seems to be becoming, but also just by what great stories they can tell. Also, you'll probably recognize a lot of the actors because a lot of those actors have gone on to do bigger and better things. If you even recognize Daniel Kaluuya, who is hitting it, who is on top of the world right now because Get Out actually got his start, well, one of his starts in the second episode of season 1, that is 15 Million Merits, which is also one of my favorite episodes. So that is it. Be sure to click that like button and that subscribe button. Let me know what some of your favorite Black Mirror episodes are in the comments below. You follow me on Twitter at Movie Nerd Review. Head on over to my website, movienerdreviews.com. That is it. I will see you guys next time. Go!